progress into like maybe season 2, we'd consider that. But at the moment, it's like we'd probably be putting out an episode every 3 months for at least the first 8 episodes. So it's not really even worth having a Patreon.
Well, they'd have you could set Patreon actually to set up to collect per month as opposed to per project.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like we can't even guarantee we're going to get the first full season done. Like at the moment, we have a plan. Like we've gone through and divided up every chapter of the book, but it's like we have no plans right now for making a season 3. It's like we're going to get as far as we can and then address the next season when we get to it, you know?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so we're just not in a position where we feel comfortable to actually take funding for anything.
How big is Stable-TEC anyways?
We have about 112 members right now, I believe, is the count. Out of those, we have about 40 to 50 dedicated members who are actually keeping up with everything, which is actually a pretty good amount from the studios I've been in before. So
I'm a little tongue-tied. 112.
Well, yeah, when you start getting, we probably have like 40 or 50 different VAs. We've got about 30-ish animators, I believe. We've got people for HR, PR. We've got the writing team, which is pretty big. We've got concept art, which is its own branch, which just adds up. Every department has like 20 or 30 people in it.
Do you have any noteworthy VAs that you're possibly...
I don't know if they'd be anyone like really big on their own, but we've got some really good VAs. Like if you know Lizzie from the Bronys, she's a loose friend of mine. She's doing some voices for us. I believe she's our Velvet Remedy. We've got I'm Shadow, who does a spectacular Twilight, like the best Twilight in the fandom, in my opinion, but she won't be doing anything Twilight related for us. I'm not exactly sure what her roles are at the moment. I'm honestly not too involved in the VA department as it is. I'm a puppet builder, so anyone I know is just kind of loosely associated with us. Or not, what am I saying? Anyone I know that's associated with us, I just know because I've kind of heard of them being around. I'm not in the VA chat or anything. I'm sure if I went in there, I'd see them all in my Skype contacts or whatever.
Certainly. You mentioned you haven't been to a convention before. Is there any ones that you regret, like, passing over?
Not particularly. I guess this year's BabsCon would be one, but I mean, I was in school for that one. I couldn't exactly get to it, and that's just because all the Stable-TEC people were at it. We premiered our animatic there. I've never really been too inclined towards conventions, to be honest.
Certainly. Let's see here. Are there any particular headaches that leap out at you as an animator? Any real challenges that you've run into?
Getting people who actually know how to puppet build. Like I said, in the entire run of the studio, we've had about 4 people who actually know how to build puppets, and like 2 that actually have any good experience at it. That's basically been the biggest challenge for Stable-TEC at the moment. I mean, we've been working on puppets for like a year now. When I actually came into Stable-TEC, there was no puppet building department, and the dude who had been told 3 weeks before I joined to make a puppet building department himself had no clue how to make puppets and was just kind of messaging people, hey, do you know? Hey, do you know? And then I said something in the business chat, and he's like, hey, you know. And then shortly after that, I got appointed as director of the department, which I wasn't expecting when I joined the studio.
How many people did it have at the time before they managed to get any of that infrastructure that were able to progress with puppet building? Like
how many people? I'm not sure how many people there were total when I joined. We probably had more, to be honest, just because there were a lot of people that had like joined up and then never done anything. That's just kind of how most studio projects go. People are like, oh, I want to help. Then figure out, oh, that's work. I don't want to do that, and just kind of don't mention anything. That's just how shit in the fandom goes, to be honest. It's like every project in any studio. You got to have a culling every now and again to take out all the people who never actually do anything for you.
Have you kept up with the show at all, or is this just...
Oh, yeah. I've been keeping up with the show.
What are your thoughts on Season 5?
Pretty good, I guess. I don't exactly have any... profound opinions on it. I'm not doing the whole analysis thing anymore. I'm not sticking around in the chats for it or anything. It's just kind of like, I like it, or not the best.
So you'd say that there's no chance you'd ever come back. Is there any other channels that you're doing, perhaps, or just Stable-TEC all the way?
Oh, at the moment, like I said, I'm one of 3 competent puppet builders at Stable-TEC, so any free time I have to work on stuff is basically going to building puppets. Like I spent the last 2 days making a puppet rig, and we needed that for something that's due in 9 days. Or, yeah, I guess Gala Con's 9 days from now. Yeah, so we're going to be animating that right up to the end just because our animation is kind of short-staffed, to be honest, for what we want to do. It's just kind of hard to get animators until you have something put out there because there are so many projects vying for the good animators. Like, I see so many people trying to start their own projects, and they're messaging people on DeviantArt, and they're messaging people over Skype. They're asking me if I know anyone that wants to help, and it's just like, most people who are good at animation run their own channels. Most people who are okay at animation are already involved with the project or just don't want to join up with projects because the last three they've been in closed down before they even got the script done. Now, puppet building is something completely hard to find altogether, though. Like, it's kind of hard to say. Like, I feel bad saying this, but I'm probably one of the like 30 best puppet builders in the fandom just because there aren't that many. Like, to give a good estimate, there might be 300 people who know how to build puppets correctly. So it's just kind of really hard to find someone who knows what they're doing.
How much progress have you ever lost as a result of, like, I don't know, like a program malfunctioning?
I lost my hard drive last summer, and I was actually working on my own personal puppet, like right when I was joining up with Stable-TEC. And I had a file saved on Dropbox with all the body parts, but I basically lost all the face, the wings, and oh my god, wings are so hard to make, and I had them so perfect. I lost all the hair and tail I had done for my OC, and that took me a while because I kind of overcomplicated it a bit.
How much
Luckily,
real time do you think you put into that?
from what I lost, probably 2 days, like of not screwing around time, including, and I guess take out sleeping, so probably around 30 hours of work.
Oh, okay. Now I definitely appreciate that a lot more.
Yeah. So I literally sat down 1 week of the summer and said, I'm making my own puppet. And then my hard drive blew. So,
Is there any advice that you'd offer to anyone who's kind of working on these kind of projects from your experience?
for puppet building particularly, or just as a studio as a whole?
We'll go with the studio as a whole.
Organization and communication is definitely the biggest thing you can have in any kind of studio project. It's been the bane of so many studios I've been in. Just like, people don't know what's going on in the studio. They lose interest. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They don't know that they actually have work they can do, and it just doesn't get done. Like, even in Stable-TEC, they do a great job at communicating. We have weekly meetings. We have a mail shot that goes out every week, except for like the last month because the dude who's writes it has been sick. But it's besides the point. We're still always finding ways we can improve. Like, recently we set up a whole form on a website that's hosted by our HR department. And that's really helped our organization. We post all our files there. It's a great place. Anyone can go to at any time and see, hey, this is what this department's doing. That's what that department's doing. Hey, this department has this work listed that can be done. And then we've reshuffled our executive team to kind of condense it a bit, where before we used to have a weapons department that was dealing with just weapons. We kind of condensed that into concept art. And then we even folded our vector department straight under animation just to kind of help streamline the process. But just keeping your members informed of what's going on is really the most important part of this project, or any project involving a fandom animation.
Do you ever experience like burnout at all? Or?
Oh, yes, all the time. All the time. Like, the sad part is it usually happens on the projects I'm most excited to do. Like, I had a friend who came up to me and said, hey, can you help me get this rig done? And I'll be like, yeah, I can do this. This will be great. I'm going to love doing this. And I worked straight 3 days. It needs like another 6 hours of work. And then I'm just done with it. Like, I can't bring myself to do it. And it's like, any work I do from that point just takes 4 times as long. So 6 hours becomes like 24 hours.
Diminishing returns. I got
Yeah.
If someone hands off a rig to you, is it something that you can pick up, or is it something more specialized? It's like, I have to practically start over because this is just someone else's work.
Oftentimes, it more just involves a lot of bitching and complaining about how the last person did their rig. Like, the main rig we use now was mostly designed by a friend of mine that lives down in Brazil. He left the studio on kind of bad terms, to be honest. And he left it very unorganized. Like, it looked great, but it just really needed the proper organization to come in. Like, the symbol library, if you're familiar with Flash at all, is basically any symbol you make will be saved over in the bottom right-hand corner under a little folder section. Doesn't matter if you delete it off the stage, it'll still be down in there. But we had gone through a different version of the rig before that from the founder of the studio, who just kind of made a thing for a promo that was like a side view and didn't have any of the proper symbols set up. That was all still in the symbol library, every part from that thing. And then we had the ear in 4 different symbols. We had symbols that didn't have anything in them, that were just a name under the library. The legs were set up kind of weird. So it's like our walk cycles are just kind of an entirely different segment of the puppet than the legs. Where normally, if you need a walk cycle put in on something, you just go into the leg symbol and you tell it to run this many frames inside the legs. But with ours, we actually have to like copy and paste a different set of frames we keep within the puppet. So it makes adding hair and stuff to them kind of a pain when we have to redo every view of the walk cycle with hair. Just everyone has their own different kind of way of doing puppets. Like I like how DHX does their puppets, but I'm most certainly not just going to copy exactly what they did. There are ways that I like to make a puppet that DHX does differently. And there are ways that Jan Animations does his puppets that I like to do differently, but I can see how they benefit him with what he's doing. So puppets are very kind of personalized to what you're doing with your project.
Do you have a sample of this animation online, so maybe I could put it in the description of the podcast?
Which animation?
The walk cycles, for example, of your animation, the puppet.
I don't have those in a GIF format anywhere.
Okay, well, it'll be something we look forward to when it eventually does.
Yeah, if you want to look up the Stable-TEC Gala Con promo, I can link that to you.
All right, just make sure to toss that into the main room. I'll make sure to include it in the podcast when I throw it up.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about animation and that, like, is there any specific animators out there that you're deeply surprised by their success?
Not particularly. I think most people who have gotten successful really deserve their success. A lot of people out there that animate are really good at animating just don't publish their work. They're not really that well known, and I'm always kind of regretful of that, which is like people don't like being in the spotlight of stuff, so it's like not really much you can do. I find a lot of people will make like really crappy animations and still get 1 million views on it just because that's kind of how the fandom works. It's like, oh, this is on EQD, it's animated, let me go click that. It's not too hard to get views once you actually publish something that's an animation.
Were there any, for education, was there any concerns that you're worried about heading down the road?
For what in particular?
I don't know. For example, I've talked to Tommy Oliver, and I know from my own personal experiences, college debt can really catch up with you really bad.
Yeah, I'm not really too worried about anything in particular, to be honest. I've always found ways to balance my time.
Certainly. Were there any American or animation elsewhere that might have inspired you on this path?
I mean, not really. I kind of got into animation by accident, to be honest. I was starting to screw around drawing stuff. I'm like, oh, what's the show made in? Flash? Okay, let me just download a free version of that I can find. And then I was actually doing some art for the Bronys. There's a dude in there named Slashy, if you all know him. Maybe not. He's well known on 4chan, at least. This was about 2 years ago now, or I guess a year and a half ago-ish. He went, hey, I'm throwing together an animation workshop. We're going to teach people how to animate and build puppets. And anyone in here interested in that? And I'm like, yo, me, definitely. And so I kind of found out I was good at puppet building through that. And that's just kind of what I've been doing since.
Say, if you felt comfortable talking about it, I know post-Riff you briefly gravitated towards Horse News. Was there any real reason for that?
I wouldn't really say I gravitated towards them. I kind of did a little bit of stuff with them. Or like that whole KP, or I Love Kim Possible a lot fiasco with her animation using all the stolen assets when John Delancey was complaining about piracy. I was in there and I helped them kind of write their articles, more so just stopping them from reporting all the false shit. No,
okay, we'll veer away from that. Any interesting fandom stories that we might have left out that you feel it might be interesting? As you've met a series of people, any fun stories from anyone that you may have missed since you started and you've gotten more busy with your own personal affairs?
No, I live streamed with Greg from FimFlamFilosophy for a while. That kind of had its own subculture going after a while. I guess I live streamed with him for about 4 months. I originally got involved with him because he had the cease and desist stuff on the YouTube that was just like taking down all his videos. And I actually put him in touch with my friend from Hasbro so she could kind of talk with him about how he could change what he was doing to not get taken down or whatever. And then I kind of told him, hey, I'll teach you how to use Flash if you want to start animating with that. And so he said, sure. And then added me to his live stream. And then he decided that I don't really like Flash at the moment. I'm not really skilled enough of an artist to do that. And then I actually hooked him up with my ex-girlfriend who taught him how to use Paint Tool Sci. She live streamed with us for a while. And then we did that for about 4 months where he was actually greatly improved on his artistic ability. It wasn't anything to brag about, but he most certainly kind of started to understand what he was doing. And ironically enough, the second I kind of got bored of doing the broadcast, he started getting back into Flash animation. Luckily enough, some dude who was actually a professional in the industry started popping in the chat and helped him figure all that stuff out, so I wasn't missed at all, luckily enough.
Oh, that's unfortunate. How is Greg as a person? Whatever, is there any insights on Greg or anything like that?
Greg's a really nice guy, to be honest. Like, there are a lot of people in this fandom who get really popular and just become assholes about it, but I think Greg's a really great guy, to be honest.
I don't suppose he podcasts at all.
Well, he does live streams.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, he just kind of works on his art and his videos every night, or at least when we were doing that. I'm not sure if he still does it every night. I haven't kept up with him, to be honest. But it just kind of like he'll usually have a chat with about 20 people, and he'll respond to the chat. He'll keep it up in a little bubble. It's not so much just like people coming in and fan gushing over him, though. It's kind of like the same 20 people every night for 3 months. So it's more just they kind of make inside jokes and whatnot the entire time.
Oh, I'd actually heard from a friend that he had gotten 300 views on one of his last live streams. I guess maybe it's just
I haven't kept up with him in a while, so maybe. He was only promoting it on his Tumblr for the longest time, and not too many people were following his Tumblr, I guess, and were stopping in for the live streams. So it was kind of on the down low for a while. But
well, I think we've actually touched base on everything I needed to ask. I know that you planning on hitting BabsCon next year.
I'm going to try.
Yeah, it'll be something to definitely look forward to. Definitely make sure to pass this around. I think it was very insightful, sir. Thank you.
Okay.